So our next speaker is Sophia Wang, the co-founder and chief of culture at MycoWorks. Sophia Wang is an artist, writer, and founder in the fields of biotechnology, art, and education. Since co-founding MycoWorks in 2013, she has steered and scaled the company's communications and people from seed through Series C funding. So we will have hopefully some time for questions today. So please put them in the chat and I'll make sure Sophia gets them. And welcome to the stage, Sophia. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole, and thanks, MII, for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm going to dive in with a brief introduction to MycoWorks and absolutely want to leave time for Q&A because that's where the most interesting stuff comes out, of course. So let's just dive in and begin at the beginning. So MycoWorks, as some of you might know, but maybe many don't, we are a biotechnology company founded by artists. So this is actually a shot of me from way back in the 2013 founding of the company era, working in the basement studio that was a converted art studio of my co-founder, Phil Ross. So Phil, my co-founder, has been working with mycelium as material for art and design since the 90s. So the journey that we've been on as a company is really 30 years in the making. He's a bio artist working with living materials to make sculptures and art objects. So had discovered mycelium essentially through the world of being a chef and a forager, and understanding the amazing benefits that reishi mushrooms in particular have in terms of being a traditional Chinese medicinal supplement, and was growing reishi mushrooms on his own in his own art studio for medicinal use, and learned about the amazing dynamic qualities of mycelium. So began using it as an art material. So fast forward, Phil and I connect through the art world in San Francisco, and when the occasion came to found MycoWorks, because the world was approaching Phil with interest in using his mycelium materials in their products and in manufacturing, Phil and I came together to found MycoWorks. And so I think it's an important thing to point out that we're in a moment where mycelium materials seem very on trend, and it's something that you're starting to see and hear about everywhere. But this is actually something that we've been doing for several decades, and really Phil being a pioneer in introducing mycelium as a material that could be used for structural use. I mean, that didn't really exist as a practice prior to Phil's practice. So we found MycoWorks, and we spend the standard first 2 years that they call in the startup world the valley of death or the trough of sadness. We don't have a lot of money. We're figuring out our product market fit, and we make a really interesting early pivot from considering structural, more architectural use of mycelium, which is what Phil's artworks had communicated and made evident, to an option for leather. So this was a shift that we made in 2015. So just a couple years after we had founded the company, we connected with a fashion and footwear brand, and realized that mycelium's unique properties and aesthetics and performance were a perfect fit for fashion and footwear, industries that are seeking sustainable materials, but also looking for new materials that can unlock new design possibilities. So on the basis of this fit, we got our first seed funding from the biotech accelerator IndieBio, and with their support, grew our team, converted Phil's art studio into a hand-built lab, brought on some fabricators and people to help us make product. And in 2016, at our pitch day at the end of our IndieBio accelerator program, unveiled to the world a sheet of mycelium leather the size of a cowhide, to show that we could grow to that size or beyond, that we weren't constrained by size, and that we could do it in a matter of weeks. So this was really the first time that anything like this had been unveiled to the world, and generated a lot of interest. So it was a growing movement at that point, and Phil and I spent a year essentially pitching and attempting to raise our, basically the basis for our Series A, and decided and realized very early on that it would benefit the team to diversify the team by bringing on another member. So, Phil and I, both being artists and academics, we have the vision for the tech, and we certainly have the years of experience and research that Phil had done, given, hands-on practice. But we knew that we needed someone else to fully communicate the opportunity to the investors that we were trying to reach. So we brought on Matt Scullin, who you see here, who is a material science entrepreneur. He had worked in the clean tech space for 10 years prior to joining MycoWorks, and we met him through our shared art science community here in the Bay Area. And Matt's been an amazing asset in addition to the team. So with Matt's support in 2017 and into 2018, we started growing the team and grew from about 5 to 45 people over the course of a couple of years. And so what you're seeing here is our first and only pilot plant based here in Emeryville, California, so a 30,000 square foot plant. And so this was really our first big leap that we made as a company in terms of scale and operations. So we went from a basement artist studio in a residential neighborhood in San Francisco to this facility. We broke ground in 2019, and the goal, of course, was to start to scale the craft that Phil had developed in working with mycelium to make a flexible option for leather into, to bring it from bench scale, artist studio scale to pilot scale, to show that it is scalable, that it is viable as a technology we can bring to commercial scale. So this was a really exciting moment for us as a company. This was really the moment that we were starting to formulate our process as a technology platform. So, taking it from an artist's crafts to something that can be replicated and that can also be expanded to create many different kinds of advanced materials was what we were capable of doing in this space. And so Fine Mycelium as a platform is enabled by a few leaps that we made during this time. So in our journey to scale up, we basically had to demonstrate viability and scalability of the technology. And we did that in part by creating a proprietary tray-based system, which means that each sheet of fine mycelium that we grow is entirely environmentally controlled and tunable, so we can adapt and customize over the entire course of its life, from cultivation through its growth to harvest and finishing. So this gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of the features and the performance that we can offer our brand partners. So one of the advantages of MycoWorks is that we're an entirely vertically integrated biomaterials company. So that means we own the entire process, from the spawn and the cultivation all the way through the growing process, the harvesting, and post-processing and finishing. So this gives us a lot of control. It gives us a lot of proprietary advantage in terms of this technology. So what you're seeing here is our ASRS automatic shelving racking system, I think, something like that, in our plant here in Emeryville, which is in part what has allowed us to do thousands of square feet of material per year here on site. And this, of course, enabled a few big leaps for the company in the following years. So a really big milestone for the company was back in 2020, when we launched our product brand. So Fine Mycelium is our technology, and it is also, I would say, what we refer to the class of materials that the technology enables, so Fine Mycelium materials. And our finished version of Fine Mycelium, which is finished to the standards of luxury leather and fashion, is called Reishi. And so in 2020, during New York Fashion Week, we took a pop-up shop in downtown New York and invited members of the fashion press and fashion media and brand leaders to come and touch and see and feel what we'd been building. And really with reishi, with Find Mycelium, seeing and touching and feeling and smelling is believing. You can see videos and images and read about it, but once you touch and see and feel it, and you feel the weight and you feel the hand feel, everyone who encounters reishi is convinced. It's like, oh, this is, fashion needs this, right? This is ready. So it was a really important point of contact with the public and with industry. It was the first time we had shared our material with the public since our pitch day event back in 2016. So it was a long journey to get there. And of course, it was like February 2020. So about a month later, COVID shutdown started. So we were really lucky to have had this moment, this public event before that whole era, which we are, of course, still finding our way out of. But it was a really important moment. It gave us a lot of momentum. So we spent the rest of 2020 building out our facility, starting to rev up operations there, continuing to produce material and share them with brand partners that we were in conversation with, and to iterate on the material to continue improving towards prototyping and product launches. So that, of course, brings us to an incredible milestone event for the company, which I'm super proud of. So last year, we unveiled in March our brand partnership with Hermes, and it's the first brand partnership that we've made public. We are, of course, in conversation and in partnership with several brands that I'm really excited about, and I will be so excited to share that news when it's time, coming soon. But partnership with Hermes has been a really wonderful one for us. They connected with us as early as 2016, so when we were still in the basement studio, making our material out of in like a plastic sheeting and plywood built lab. They really resonate with our story as an artist founded company. I think we share a lot of values in terms of aesthetic excellence and thinking design and desirable objects and performance and quality above all. And so it's been a really fruitful partnership of learning how to innovate together with a company that has been setting the highest standards for leather and fashion in the industry. So the image you're seeing here is the Victoria bag. So this is their object, which they reimagined with Find Mycelium, and that's the large panel that you see on the side of the bag. And they've integrated it with some of their heritage materials as well. So this, of course, was an incredible validation for us as a company, just to show that, if we are working to the standards of Hermes, then we are ready to serve luxury and beyond. And that essentially brings us to where we are today. I mean, we are growing. We are growing really fast. So actually, we grew a lot during COVID. Tripled in size, more than tripled. So today we're at 176 people. We've raised 187 million in funding through 3 rounds. So we're at Series C right now. And our most recent fundraise of 125 million, that is largely dedicated to starting a new plant, a full-scale factory in South Carolina. So South Carolina, of course, long history and heritage in textile manufacturing. So they have great infrastructure and expertise in that region to support establishing a new facility of this kind. Really excited for that, and that should be coming online by next year, and it'll enable us to make several million square feet of material per year. So a leap in many orders of magnitude from where we are today. And so I wanted to share with you a glimpse into a public event that we recently had. One of the challenging things about being a startup and having a long R&D cycle is that so much of what you're doing is behind closed doors, proprietary, highly protected, and you're sharing it only with your brand partners. And those are rich partnerships, and there's amazing dialogues and collaboration going on. But what you really want, of course, is to be able to share this with the public and to inspire everyone with your vision and what you've built and where you know it's going to go and your idea for how this is going to really impact the world. And you really, and you just want people to get as excited as you are about what you're doing. So this past March, our team created an event, an interactive immersive exhibit called Freedom of Creation, and it was in Chelsea in New York. And we invited brands, journalists, media, investors, members of the public, influencers, people who are just fans who follow us on Instagram. We invited all sorts of people to come and touch and see and feel our material for themselves to get them as excited and to bring more people along on our journey. And I can't even find the words to tell you how proud I was and how moving it was to experience that and to experience everyone's reactions. But I will give you a taste of it with this video.
If you gave it to me, I would think it was leather.
It smells like leather.
It's so smooth. It feels just like leather to me.
I've been working with different types of plant material, and this is by far the most real.
So that was Freedom of Creation. I wish that you could have all been there. And I know some of you were. So yeah, I mean, it was amazing to see the reactions in person of people touching and seeing the material and saying things like, it's just like leather, or I can't believe this isn't leather, and getting really excited about all the capacities that Find Mycelium has beyond leather. It really reminded me of something that Matt, our CEO, often says, which is, we're really at the forefront of the era of biomaterials. And I love this quote of his as well, where he's looking back, the large eras of technology, material technologies that have shaped the world. And so thinking ahead, since that event, I've been thinking about, 3 kind of key principles that all of us here in, at this conference and our colleagues in this space that we really should commit to and keep in mind as agents, as people who have power to really steer this new era that's before us, that could really have a tremendous impact on the way things are made and our relationship to our natural resources. So the first one I will say is, sorry, I think I'm having a little bit of a delay on my, there we go, partnership. So partnership, so critical. So we could not have gotten where we are today without being in intimate, committed, long-term partnership with the brands that we're working with, right? We're not creating a material that's off the shelf and ready for you to just order and deliver, right? This is something that, brand partners, they join us on a journey. They often, and in many cases, put together innovation teams within their own teams to work with us to understand the cycles of iteration and data sharing and scientists talking to engineers and designers talking to scientists to understand the capacities of the material and to match what our material can do today with applications that they can imagine today, and to talk about future possibilities and what our technology might also be able to enable. So deep partnership, as opposed to, let's say, a transactional relationship of just I supply the material and you buy it. This is really about co-creation. And I would say that goes beyond just the material supplier and brand. It goes to any one or entity in this space, like in the fashion and materials industry and supply chain network, who is in a position to influence and to create partnerships that will really be aligned in the values of bringing more regenerative, more sustainable materials into circulation, and better practices that go along with that. So partnership based on shared values is key. Next, of course, diversity of thought. This is something I think about all the time. We are a biotech company founded by artists. So we have it in our DNA as a company that we're thinking across fields. This was an innovation that came out of an art practice. And so it took the sort of creative and intimate observation of an artist to discover a new use for material that has existed on the planet for a very long time. And that's the case, that sometimes the most innovative ideas come at the junctures of practices, at the junctures of fields of knowledge. So this slide really is just a little schematic of the different kinds of expertise that we've brought on board in order to make MycoWorks possible and to scale our technology and bring our product to the world. And I would say that diversity of thought extends to diversity of identity and background and your approach to work and your communication. So all the things that we usually think of in terms of personal identity and diversity, whether it's your education level or professional background or class background or gender expression or orientation, all of this actually brings richness to your perspective and ability to problem solve and ability to communicate the ideas you bring to the table. So here at MycoWorks, we are cultivating diversity of thought across this entire spectrum. And I think that, my goal for MycoWorks is to be a model of the way that innovation really is driven by diversity of thinking. And in such a new space and in a space where we are combining a lot of expertise from different fields, this is going to be critical. And lastly, artistic integrity. So, staying to our roots, we are an artist-led, artist-founded company. This set us up very early to have alignment with the luxury companies, luxury brands that we're working with now. So this set us up to be very performance and quality driven, to know that if your material does not perform and compete with existing materials, you will not have widespread adoption. And if you don't have widespread adoption, you won't have widespread impact, right? So we actually think as artists, we're actually, you have to present the world with something that is beautiful, that is well designed, that is excellent in performance and quality, that instills desire. And that is actually how you can win over your audience, right? You actually have to make people want it. And you actually have to, you have to inspire the people around you, right? Every single touch point, whether it's pitching to, a brand or trying to establish a new partnership with a supplier, or telling the story of MycoWorks and mycelium, which used to be an esoteric thing in the world, to an everyday person, someone who's never heard of the word. You have to lead by inspiring and storytelling and getting people on board with your vision. And so the art and artistry of story and crafting of desire is very key here, in my view. And so on that note, on the note of inspiration, I think that's what I've got, and I would love to hear and respond to questions from the audience. Thank you, Nicole. And everyone.
Thank you so much, Sophia. I have heard so many wonderful things about the event in New York from so many different people. I can't wait till you can do it next time and I can come.
Yeah, I would love to do that again.
Yeah, no, it's really incredible. So we have about 5 minutes and a few audience questions so far. So I'll pull up this one. So Catherine asks, during scale up, what were key challenges or bottlenecks the team had to go through? And what did that look like?
That there's so many, and I could talk all day about this, but I will say that we have been tremendously helped by bringing in expertise from basically established manufacturing excellence systems. So when you're scaling something, there's so many factors, right? Like we're not making software, we are making a real physical good. And so there are the physics of it, there's the biochemistry of it, there's the biology of it. And so really the challenges were actually like pacing the expertise that we had to bring on. So, you know, at what point are process engineers more important than process scientists and mycologists? Like there's no point, they're all important. And so some of the challenges about scaling are actually about prioritization. So knowing like what you have to build at what pace in order to stay on track and keep delivering to your customers, but also know that your technology is stable enough to scale it. And so a lot of things are being done in parallel, and it's basically a dance of risk mitigation while also pushing forward as fast as you can. And I have so much more to say about it, but we can talk later offline.
Yeah, I think that is one of the main challenges of a startup is that it's a constant, reprioritization. So here's another one. So from Catherine, where is MycoWorks in terms of using polyurethane inputs in the process? And if used, what needs to be unlocked to move away from it?
I love this question because it gives me the chance to say that we are a natural, like the basis of our material is just mycelium. It is a natural organic material. And so our process, the fine mycelium process, allows us to add composite materials as needed. So if a brand is requesting a certain kind of performance, or if a brand wants an application that essentially polyurethane is the fix for it, that is an option for that brand, but our material is an all natural material. And so polyurethane is not an element in that. Oh, and that's the difference, I guess. So that's a bit why we don't call it like vegan leather, which often refers to materials that are made with polyurethanes. It often refers to materials that are plastic.
And then we have one more question, which I think you answered a little bit, but we have a couple South Carolina natives in the chat, and they're curious about why South Carolina. I know you talked a little bit about the infrastructure, but was there anything else that drew you to the state?
Yeah, not just the history and heritage of textile manufacturing, so equipment and spaces and like the rich knowledge that's there, right? There's a lot of like engineers who actually know this field and this space there, but also like lifestyle, right? Like we want to build a factory in a place where we can recruit our current members to move there or to teach people there. We want to be a place that's attractive to recruit people. So we, of all the places that we looked, South Carolina, and it's near Union, I believe, was an attractive location in terms of a great lifestyle that we could offer people. And then there's also supply chain considerations around like proximity to raw materials and like, easy ports of entry and things like that. So it's a multifaceted decision making, but I think we made a great choice and I'm excited for it.
All right. Well, we have another minute, so I'm going to get my own question in here. So do you think you're done with the production facility in South Carolina, or are you going to be planning additional ones in the future?
Oh, definitely more. I mean, the idea is that the current inventory that we've projected is potentially already committed with the demand that we already know about. So that's a convoluted way of saying that there is more demand than we can meet, even with the South Carolina facility. So South Carolina will really be establishing the model for a full scale plant, and that is then highly portable. And so absolutely, we want to make this technology and this material available wherever it's needed.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us and the beautiful videos and pictures. And I will personally say I have felt the material and it is absolutely incredible. So really, congratulations.
Thank you so much. And thanks everyone in the audience for coming and your questions.
So we're going to have to take our 30-second break, and then we'll be back for the last presentation of the day.